Good morning, everybody. Since Dave has been encouraging us to pray for churches in other places, I wanted to give you a little update about how the church in Uganda is doing and how we can be praying into that with the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic. So traditionally, the church in Uganda has been very heavily reliant on the preacher's teaching. There's very little emphasis on kind of personal discipleship or small group work or personal Bible study. And I've been praying for the church in Uganda for a long time that it would encourage its believers to grow and that there would be more discipleship happening there. Also, in terms of background in Uganda, there's been a huge economic impact from the lockdown. The government effectively shut the economy down without a furlough scheme like we've had over here. So loads of people are unemployed, like there's massive hunger issues. Economically, it's not doing well at all. So as part of the lockdown, churches were not allowed to meet. For quite a number of weeks, they're still not allowed to meet now. So a few have gone down the online route, similar to how we have, but very few people can actually access that, either because the internet connection isn't good enough or because they can't afford to pay for the internet data to do that. It does mean that there are vast swathes of the country where there's no church meeting at all, which is obviously quite concerning, and those people having no input at all. But there's a little glimmer of hope, because even in the lockdown, up to 5 people were allowed to meet, and even inside. And so that's meant that little house churches have been springing up all over the place, and it's so exciting. The idea that some people for the first time are starting to really study the Bible independently and be working out for themselves what it means. And believers are encouraging each other in those times and building each other up. And so, I think that's something that could really be a big positive that comes out to it. There is a general consensus in Uganda that church attendance is likely to be lower after the lockdown, as people have got out of the habit of coming. For people in many places, taking a morning off is not easy. For subsistence farmers, there's always a lot of work to do, no matter what day of the week it is, and so it's always been a temptation for people, particularly during the busy seasons of planting and harvest time, to be busy with work instead of coming to church. But I have a real hope that will give opportunity for the church to be strengthened, and that it will be the people that are really passionate that will be the ones in the church, and that there's potential that be a time for them to be built up. And then my prayer is that the people that might not come back will eventually wake up to what they're missing, and that they will be more attuned to how important church is than they were before. So I think in terms of how to pray, I think it's good to remember the people that don't have access to any church in your prayers, that they would learn without, it's not ideal, but they would learn without the support of others how to study the Bible, but particularly for the house churches, that they would be a real vehicle for maturing, strengthening, building up and discipling people in the church, and that they'd have a really long-term impact, that it wouldn't just be a thing that comes and goes during the restrictions and during the pandemic. And then also, once the restrictions are lifted, that people would eventually return to church, and that they would come back with fresh eyes and a new awakening of how important church is, and that faith is something that should impact the whole lives and not just be something that you sort of practice on a Sunday. So that's the little bit that I wanted to share with you. As many of you know, I would normally be in Uganda at this point, so quite miffed that I'm here and not there. But yeah, there's plenty of things to be praying into there, I think. Right, thank you.